The clock reads 5:47 p.m. George Rivas sits alone in a holding cell at the Huntsville unit, 8 feet from the death chamber. In 13 minutes, the state of Texas will execute the man who orchestrated the most audacious prison escape in state history. 11 years ago, he led 6 convicted killers over the walls of the Connolly unit on Christmas Eve. They left behind a crime spree that ended with a police officer's blood on the ground and a nationwide manhunt. Tonight, Rivas has requested to speak. He has asked for forgiveness. But some wounds never close. The family of Officer Aubrey Hawkins waits in the witness room. They have waited over a decade for this moment. The warden checks his watch. 12 minutes remain. This is the story of the final day of the Texas 7 ringleader, and the escape that changed American corrections forever.
If you enjoy real, gripping prison documentaries and true stories, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking and exclusive content.
December 13, 2000. The Connolly unit in Kennedy, Texas. Maximum security. George Rivas had been inside for armed robbery since 1993, serving 30 years. He should have been thinking about parole in another decade. Instead, he was thinking about freedom in another week. Rivas was different from most inmates. Intelligent. Organized. He had spent months studying the prison's patterns. Guard rotations. Security blind spots. Equipment deliveries. He recruited carefully. 6 men. All serving long sentences. All with nothing to lose. Donald Newberry, 38 years old, robbery. Larry Harper, 37, sexual assault. Patrick Murphy Jr., 39, aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. Rodriguez, 38, capital murder. Michael Rodriguez, 38, attempted capital murder. Joseph Garcia, 29, murder. They called themselves the Texas 7. Rivas was the planner. The others were the muscle. On December 13th, during the afternoon maintenance shift, it began. 4 of the escapees overpowered civilian maintenance supervisor Bobby Hawkins. They bound and gagged him. Stripped him of his identification. Then they moved through the facility using his credentials and stolen uniforms. They looked like guards. They sounded like guards. Other inmates watched in silence as the group moved with purpose toward the back gate. One by one, guards were ambushed. Tied up. Left in maintenance closets and storage rooms. No shots fired. No alarms triggered. For nearly 4 hours, the Texas 7 moved through one of the most secure facilities in the state, systematically neutralizing every obstacle. 16 prison employees were overpowered that day. Bound with duct tape. Stripped of radios, keys, uniforms. The precision was remarkable. The brutality was controlled. Rivas had planned every step. By the time the group reached the backloading area, they had complete control of an entire section of the prison. They stole a prison maintenance truck. Loaded stolen weapons. At approximately 6 p.m., they drove through the rear gate. The guard waved them through. He thought it was a routine supply run. By the time the first bound guard was discovered, the Texas 7 were 20 miles away. The largest prison break in Texas history was underway. And none of them planned to go back alive. They scattered first. Then regrouped. The plan was to disappear into America's vastness, but 7 escaped murderers traveling together attracted attention. They needed money. They needed weapons. They needed a place to hide. On Christmas Eve 2000, the Texas 7 arrived at a sporting goods store in Irving, Texas. Oshman Super Sports. It was supposed to be simple. Wait until closing. Rob the store. Disappear again. Officer Aubrey Hawkins was working security that night. 29 years old. Newlywed. He had taken the extra shift to earn Christmas money. He responded to a silent alarm at 6:15 p.m. He had no idea what he was walking into. The ambush was coordinated. Multiple shooters. Hawkins was struck 11 times. He fell in the parking lot. The Texas 7 fled in stolen vehicles. They left behind shell casings, witness statements, and a dying police officer. Aubrey Hawkins was pronounced dead at the hospital 2 hours later. His wife, Lori, was 22 years old. They had been married 7 months. The murder of a police officer changed everything. The manhunt intensified. The FBI joined. America's Most Wanted aired their faces to millions. Tips flooded in. The Texas 7 were no longer escaped convicts. They were cop killers. The most wanted fugitives in America. They fled to Colorado. Rented an RV park trailer in Woodland Park, a small town near Colorado Springs. They tried to blend in. Grew beards. Changed appearances. But 7 men living together in a small trailer raised questions. Neighbors noticed. A tipster called. On January 21, 2001, 11 days after the Hawkins murder, authorities surrounded the RV park. SWAT teams, FBI, local police. The net had closed. Surrender orders echoed across the snow-covered park. Inside the trailer, Larry Harper made his choice. He put a pistol to his head and pulled the trigger. The other 6 surrendered. George Rivas walked out with his hands raised. The escape was over. The reckoning had begun. The trials were separate. Each of the Texas 7 faced capital murder charges for the death of Aubrey Hawkins. Under Texas law, all participants in a felony murder can receive the death penalty, even if they did not fire the fatal shot. The prosecution argued that each man was equally responsible. The juries agreed. George Rivas was convicted in 2001. The jury deliberated his sentence for less than 2 hours. Donald Newberry, death. Michael Rodriguez, life. Randy Halprin, death, later commuted. Patrick Murphy, death. Joseph Garcia, death. But death sentences in Texas do not move quickly, even in the most notorious cases. Appeals. Reviews. Stays of execution. The Texas 7 sat on death row at the Polunsky unit in Livingston for years. Solitary confinement. 23 hours a day in a 60-square-foot cell. 1 hour of recreation in a concrete cage. No human contact. No television. No phone calls. Just time. Rivas watched as his co-defendants began their final walks. Joseph Garcia was executed in 2003. The first to die. Then the years stretched on. Appeals courts reviewed. Defense attorneys argued. The families of Aubrey Hawkins waited. His widow Lori remarried. Had children. Built a life. But the wound never fully healed. During those years, something changed in George Rivas. Letters emerged. Interviews. He began expressing remorse. Genuine or calculated, observers disagreed. But the words were there. Apologies to the Hawkins family. Acknowledgement of responsibility. Requests for forgiveness. Some saw manipulation. Others saw transformation. The truth likely lived somewhere between. By 2012, Rivas had exhausted his appeals. The Fifth Circuit Court denied his final petition. The Supreme Court declined to hear his case. Texas set the execution date, February 29, 2012. A leap day. 1 extra day of life, then the end. In the final weeks, Rivas wrote extensively. He described his regrets. The moment he knew the escape was a mistake. The guilt he carried for Officer Hawkins' death. He wrote to Lori Hawkins directly. She never responded. Some debts cannot be forgiven. February 29, 2012. 6 a.m. George Rivas wakes in his death row cell for the last time. The execution is scheduled for 6 p.m. 12 hours. He has spent 4,176 days in prison since his arrest. Today is number 4,177. His last. Death row protocol is precise. Rivas is moved to a holding area at the Walls Unit in Huntsville. The Death House. Built in 1923. Hundreds have died here. Texas executes more prisoners than any other state. The machinery is efficient. Practiced. The same routine has played out hundreds of times. He is allowed final visits. His mother arrives at 8 a.m. Separated by glass. 30 minutes. She tells him she loves him. He cries. This is the first time in 11 years they have been in the same room, even separated by barriers. She leaves without looking back. His attorney visits at 10 a.m. Final paperwork. Confirmation that all appeals are exhausted. Rivas signs documents. His hand shakes. The attorney tells him there is no more hope. Rivas nods. He already knows. Lunch arrives at noon. He orders his last meal. Mexican food. Chicken fajitas. Rice. Beans. Tortillas. Salad. Chocolate cake. He eats slowly. Tastes everything. Leaves nothing on the plate. Some condemned men refuse to eat. Rivas savors every bite. The afternoon stretches. He is alone except for guards watching through the cell window. Every 15 minutes, a log entry. Subject sitting. Subject pacing. Subject lying down. Subject appears calm. The bureaucracy of death requires documentation. At 4 p.m., the warden arrives. Final procedures are explained. Rivas listens. Nods. He has known this moment was coming for 11 years. He has prepared. He asks to make a final statement. The warden agrees. The Hawkins family will be watching. Rivas understands. At 5:30 p.m. he is moved to the final holding cell, 8 feet from the death chamber. He changes into the execution clothing. Clean white shirt, clean white pants, no shoes. He sits on the metal bench, waits, breathing steadily. Outside, witnesses are gathering. Media representatives, prison officials, the Hawkins family, all waiting for 6 p.m. The clock moves. 5:40, 5:45, 5:50, each minute an eternity and an instant. George Rivas closes his eyes, breathes, opens them again. A guard stands at the door. The warden approaches. It is time. 6 p.m. The door opens. George Rivas stands. The warden nods. 2 guards flank him. They walk the 8 feet to the execution chamber. The room is small, clinical. White walls, white floor. In the center, the gurney, covered with a white sheet. Leather straps hanging from the sides. Ready. Rivas enters without resistance. He lies down on the gurney. The guards begin securing the straps. Across his chest, his arms, his legs. The process takes 90 seconds. He does not struggle, does not speak. His breathing is controlled, practiced. The 4 team enters. 2 separate lines are inserted, 1 in each arm. Backup systems. Redundancy. The chemicals will flow through both. The process is designed to never fail. Sodium thiopental to sedate. Pancuronium bromide to paralyze. Potassium chloride to stop the heart. A 3-drug cocktail. Clinical. Efficient. The warden asks if Rivas has any final words. This is the moment. The microphone is activated. In the witness room beyond the glass, Aubrey Hawkins sits in the front row. She has waited 11 years to hear what he will say. Her family surrounds her. Aubrey's parents, his siblings, all watching. Rivas turns his head toward the glass. He can see them through the one-way mirror. They can see him. His voice is steady, clear. I want to apologize to the Hawkins family. What we did was wrong. Aubrey Hawkins did not deserve to die. He was a good man doing his job. I am responsible. I led those men. I made the choices that put us there. I cannot undo what happened. I can only say I am sorry. I hope you can find peace. He pauses, swallows, continues. To my family, I love you. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. To the other families affected by our escape, I'm sorry. What I did was selfish and evil. I accept this punishment. The microphone clicks off. The warden signals. The executioner, hidden behind a wall, begins the injection. Rivas takes a deep breath. The sodium thiopental enters his bloodstream. Within seconds, his eyes flutter. Close. His chest rises and falls. Then slows. The pancuronium bromide flows. His breathing stops. His chest is still. The potassium chloride floods his system. His heart rhythm breaks. Fibrillates. Stops. At 6:22 p.m., the medical team confirms. George Rivas is dead. The warden announces the time. The witnesses file out in silence. Aubrey Hawkins does not cry. Her face is stone. Justice, delayed 11 years, has finally arrived. George Rivas became the 4th member of the Texas 7 to be executed. Donald Newberry followed in 2015. Patrick Murphy was executed in 2024, nearly 24 years after the escape. The wait for justice was long. But it came. The escape changed Texas prisons. Security protocols were completely overhauled. Guard staffing increased. Surveillance systems upgraded. Background checks intensified. Communication systems improved. The Connolly unit where the escape occurred implemented dozens of new policies. Never again would 7 maximum security inmates simply walk out. But the changes came at a cost. The 16 employees who were overpowered during the escape suffered long-term psychological trauma. Several left corrections work entirely. The trust between guards and inmates, already fragile, fractured further. Lockdowns became more frequent. Movement more restricted. The entire system hardened. For the Hawkins family, the executions brought a measure of closure, but not healing. Aubrey Hawkins attended every execution of the Texas 7. She watched each man die. She said it brought her peace to know they could never hurt anyone again. But Aubrey never came home. Her children grew up without ever meeting the father who died before they were born. The question that haunts corrections experts is how 7 men with nothing to lose were allowed to work maintenance duty. How they accessed tools, uniforms, and keys. How they overpowered 16 trained staff members without a single alarm. The official report identified systemic failures at every level. Complacency, understaffing, inadequate training. The escape was preventable. That knowledge makes it worse. George Rivas spent his final years claiming transformation, remorse, change. Whether it was genuine or performance, only he knew. What is certain is that his choices on December 13, 2000, set in motion a chain of events that destroyed multiple lives. Officer Aubrey Hawkins. The 16 prison employees. His own 6 co-conspirators. His family. The Hawkins family. Ripples of damage spreading outward from one decision. The Texas 7 escape remains the largest prison break in Texas history. It exposed vulnerabilities in the American correction system. It sparked reforms. It demonstrated that even maximum security facilities are not impenetrable. And it reminded America that prison security is not just about keeping inmates inside. It is about keeping the public safe outside. On February 29, 2012, George Rivas paid for his crimes with his life. The debt to Officer Hawkins' family can never be fully settled. But the account is closed. The final member of the Texas 7 still awaits execution. Randy Halpern's sentence was commuted to life without parole due to judicial bias concerns. He will die in prison but not by the state's hand. The execution chamber at Huntsville remains in use. Texas continues to carry out death sentences. The machinery of justice, slow but inevitable, continues to turn. And somewhere in Texas, corrections officers still check locks, still count inmates, still watch for the next escape plan being formed in the dark corners of maximum security. Because the Texas 7 proved something terrifying. With enough planning, enough desperation, and enough violence, even the most secure walls can be breached. The question is never if another attempt will be made. Only when. The American correction system houses over 2 million inmates. Escapes are rare, but the consequences are devastating. Next, the Alcatraz escape, 3 men who vanished into the bay.